You ever have a day where the room just knows something's about to go sideways, but nobody says it out loud? That was the vibe at Edwards Air Force Base that morning. Briefing room packed with tired faces, stale coffee in the air, and me, Rebecca Hayes, staff sergeant, sitting quietly in the back row, clipboard on my knees, trying to make myself as invisible as the furniture. That's the trick in the military, blend in, don't stand out, especially if you're a woman with too much experience and not enough rank. The air was buzzing with jokes, but underneath it, everyone was tense, like even the damn fluorescent lights knew a storm was coming. Captain Rick Davidson was running the show that day, looking every bit the big shot commander, jaw like a shovel, voice sharp enough to cut through the hum of the coffee maker. Routine flight to forward base Delta. Standard loadout, except the weather's looking dicey, he said, but when he spit out weather, I knew he was talking about me. I'd been sidelined to this cargo manifest gig, a paper pusher job, because someone upstairs thought it was safer that way. Nobody here knew I'd flown over 200 hours in classified cargo missions. Hell, some days I wondered if I even remembered, the way they tried to erase me. Davidson didn't hide his disdain, not even when he barked, "Hayes, just keep to your paperwork and stay out of the way. Maybe you'll learn a thing or two about real flying." Co-pilot Tommy Brennan snickered. "Don't worry, Sarge, we'll try not to scare you." I just smiled, jaw tight. "You learn real quick. Never let him see you sweat." Torres, the old cargo master, gave me a look that said he knew there was more to me, but he kept quiet. Walsh, the youngest of the crew, was clutching the flight manual like it was a Bible and kept sneaking glances at me, maybe wondering why they'd put a woman in his squad. When Torres gently suggested we take another route, winds looked nasty up in the pass. Davidson brushed him off. "I've flown this 100 times," he bragged. "We stick to the plan." But I knew better. Out of habit, not duty, I checked the weather myself. Satellite said there was a low-pressure system brewing, a bad one. I thought about speaking up, but Davidson's warning glare had me zip it. All I could do was snap a picture of the charts, just in case. Funny how old pilot habits die hard. As we walked out to the sea. 1:30, she looked the same as ever, like a stubborn old whale on the tarmac. I'd flown these before, could have done it in my sleep. But I spotted a leaky hydraulic line, a tire a little too bald. Nobody else noticed, not even Torres as he wrangled the cargo. "You ever do logistics before?" he asked. I dodged, something like that. Before I could say more, Davidson hollered for us to buckle up, and the hum of the engines drowned out the rest. That here's the thing. They all thought I was scared, but I was listening. The engines didn't sound quite right, especially the third turboprop. Subtle, but a pilot knows. We taxied out, took off into clear blue, but I couldn't shake that itch between my shoulder blades, the kind you only get before the world tilts at AT altitude. Davidson was all swagger on the intercom. "Hayes, you picking up anything yet?" he teased. I just kept my eyes on the cargo. Those medical containers were shifting, heavier on one side. "Weight like that in turbulence? Recipe for disaster." "Copy that, Captain," I said, playing the game, but my gut was screaming. Then it started, a vibration in the hold. Torres felt it too. "Cargo shifted," he said, voice tight. I unbuckled to check, saw the bracket on the cardiac unit cracked clean through. If we hit bad air, that box could turn into a missile. "Can I secure it?" I called out, but Davidson snapped. "No, that's Torres's job. Sit down. Here's where the twist comes, you know what I mean?" Torres was stuck, and the fix needed experience. I'd done it a dozen times, but they saw a clerk, not a pilot. So, I did what I could. I took a video, time-stamped. If anything happened, there'd be proof. Eventually, Torres checked the mount. His face went white. "She's right. It's about to go." Davidson, clearly annoyed, finally caved. Torres tried, but he was fumbling. Quietly, I told him how to pre-tension the bracket. He looked at me sideways. How'd I know? But he listened. Right then, the turbulence hit. The C-130 bucked hard. Alarms started wailing. I looked outside. Mountains swallowed in angry cloud, the kind of whiteout that makes veterans pray. Walsh went green, nearly lost his breakfast. I turned on my phone's recorder, whispered my observation. Wind shear. Off the charts. Recommend immediate diversion. Davidson, stubborn as ever, refused to alter course. Pride, you see, is the real killer up there. It got ugly fast. Downdraft slammed us, the plane dropping 50 feet in a heartbeat. Cargo groaning, straps stretching. You could smell the fear, even over the stench of jet fuel and sweat. Aboard approach, wind shears off the limits. I finally called out, voice sharp. Davidson sneered, "You're just an escort. Stay out of this." But by then, even Torres and Brennan were looking at me, not him. And that's when I realized, if I stayed silent, we'd all die. I stood up, walked forward, calm as you please, even as the plane shuddered. "Captain, you gotta listen. I've flown this corridor and worse. Turn around now, or we crash." Davidson tried to cut me down, but Torres pulled up my file. Suddenly, it wasn't so easy to ignore me. "She's got more hours than any of us," he muttered. It all spilled out, my history, my real rank, why I was buried in logistics after a certain officer didn't want women distracting the crew. It was the kind of secret that festers in the dark until a crisis drags it into the light. The cockpit was dead silent except for the screaming wind. Davidson hesitated, his pride and my life hanging in the balance. Finally, Torres and even Walsh begged him, "Sir, please." He relented, and just like that, the plane was mine. The switch was instant. My hands fell on the controls and, damn, it was like breathing again. I guided us through the only safe corridor, reading the air like Braille. "You're not fighting the storm, you're dancing with it," Torres whispered. I barked orders, rebalancing the cargo, plotting fuel, talking Brennan through the pressure differences. The plane calmed, the crew steadied, and for the first time in hours, hope crackled in the air as we spiraled down for landing. A maneuver most never try outside simulators. As the clouds broke, the runway appeared, impossibly narrow, but I'd done this before. Wheels down, brakes perfect, the plane touched down like it belonged there. Brennan was shaking, Torres was grinning, even Walsh was beaming. Davidson, though, was ash. His world had just collapsed that we taxied in, and the real fallout began. Colonel Peterson and a flock of brass stormed aboard. Davidson tried to bluster his way out of it, but the crew spoke up. Sergeant Hayes saved our lives. Peterson saw through the mess, reinstated me on the spot, recommended commendation, and grounded Davidson. Later, we found out the truth about my demotion, an old boys' club move, a relic of a system that fears what it can't control. The twist? That cardiac box we risked our necks for. It saved the life of Private Maria Santos, mother of two. The note she sent me, scrawled shaky on hospital paper, still lives in my chest pocket. "Thank you for not letting my boys grow up without a mom." That, right there, is why you do the impossible. Fast forward. They pulled me out of logistics, promoted me to test pilot. I started flying aircraft that most people only read about, prototypes, machines that make the sky look small. 6 months in, NASA came calling. Dr. Michelle Washington herself asked if I'd join their Mars test pilot program. Said they needed pilots who could improvise, who didn't break under pressure. When do I start? I grinned. 2 years later, news breaks. I'm headed to Mars, first woman to fly on another planet. The same people who buried me now shake my hand. But honestly, I fly for the crew that believed in me when it mattered. For every Private Santos out there, every woman told to sit down and shut up. You never know who's got the right stuff. Sometimes it's the quiet one in the back, just waiting for her shot. So, let me ask you, when the system says don't speak up, do you sit quiet and let someone else's ego risk lives? Or do you stand up and take the controls? Where do you draw the line between protocol and doing what's right? Drop your thoughts below. I want to hear about the moment you stood up when everyone expected you to stay seated. That's how change starts. One story, one voice, one landing at a time.